Bon dia.
Hi, good morning. What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. Tim may hop in here in a minute. We're actually going a little earlier than I had originally planned. Going to get in here and talk a little Packers Titans. As you can see, we got the stadium in the background now. Pretty cool stadium. One of my favorite stadiums in the league, to be honest with you. It reminds me of some of my favorite stadiums. It's kind of like it's almost like the same version of stadium, same build of stadium as Tampa Bay. The only difference is they don't have a pirate ship down there. They get the little village instead. And then, of course, it kind of looks like Commonwealth Stadium, or what's now known as Kroger Field, where the Kentucky Wildcats play. But Jacob, how you doing this morning?
I'm good, man. I'm waking up for sure. That's funny because some of y'all may know I did live in Nashville. We're real close, right in East Nashville, across from the bridge. Right, almost. I'm talking. I could walk there in probably 10 minutes. And I've seen more football games at that stadium than I have any other, which is kind of crazy. Not Packer games, because me and my buddy Moonshine would randomly just go buy tickets from scalpers, and I would wear my Packers jersey and he'd wear his Dallas jersey because he was a diehard Cowboys fan, and we would just make fun of all the people that we would get hammered and just heckle everybody, and they'd be like, "Why are you here? Like, what are you doing?"
No doubt. We got Josh Vallanningham in the house. We got Jay in the house. No block, no rock. Amen, sir. Amen. Let me hit you with one of those real quick, actually.
No block, no rock.
There you go. All right, let's do this. Let's get the party started right and give a shout-out to the good folks over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since 92, specializing in Packers tickets. They're Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Just click on the link in the video description that'll send you to theticketking.com. You can register for free as a customer. Go ahead and start shopping around for your Packer tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. I've seen another comment here in the chat too, Jacob. Jarrell Lee says, X marks the spot. McKinney, haven't seen anything like him since the days of Nick Collins. I think that is an extremely accurate statement, Jarrell. Not saying he's at Nick Collins' level. I think everyone would agree if Nick hadn't got hurt, probably would have made it to the Hall of Fame, I would imagine. He was that big of an impact player. But X is well on his way of setting himself up to going to the Packers Hall of Fame if he continues this up, man. People are going, Clayton, it's 2 games. Yes, it's 2 games, but Jason Wilde, Mark Tauscher, all of them were talking about people within the building. They were comparing him to Charles Woodson this offseason. That was the kind of impact he was having on the locker room. But I don't know about you, Jacob. I'm really excited about X. Get your take on it, but PFF Green Bay Packers actually tweeted this out. Xavier McKinney this season, 2 interceptions, one of just 2 players with multiples, 76 coverage snaps. He's only allowed 8 receiving yards. His passer rating when targeted, 20.8. Arguably the best safety in the league so far.
That's crazy. We knew the impact that he would make on this team as far as on paper. I don't think that we actually realistically thought it would be this impactful and this fast. Like you talked about when you were just now mentioning Nick Collins, I stopped myself. I was going to say, he reminds me more of like a Charles Woodson, just on the impact that he has. And then you went and said that the front office apparently is talking about that. I mean, and also I think it's very, I don't even want to say possible. I want to say probable that dude probably has another pick in this game. I just feel it. I feel like it's the type of quarterback that, you know what I mean? It's another situation where I just feel the way he plays that he plays outfield. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not just a read and react. It's almost like he baits quarterbacks and understands the angles, the positions that he's in, knowing that like, hey, I'm in a certain spot right now. If that dude throws it, I can get there. And I know what to do with the ball once I get it too. So I think it's awesome.
No, it's so true. And you guys know when I talk about my tier of importance positions, tier 1, edge and 3 tech, tier 2, mock linebacker, and then post safety. Notice I don't just say safety, right? And when we were kind of breaking it down through the draft coverage, I kept finding myself getting lost in the muddy water of all the safeties. Like, no, wait. We're talking post safeties. We need us a good post safety. This is a perfect example. The beautiful thing is X, just like most great post safeties, they can play in the box. They can play man coverage. Yeah. But, man, he's that dude that you want patrolling center field. He does a great job reading and recognizing the different route combinations. So you go into the week and you study, all right, what's the top 3 to 5 passing concepts, the route combinations the upcoming opponent has used on the previous 4-game saturation, and maybe how they've attacked defenses that are similar to yours in the recent past. And you go, okay, knowing with that information, it's probably one of these 3 or possibly 5. Most of the time, it's just 3 different concepts they lean on heavily. So then when they come to a trip set, okay, I know they like to run this specific concept. Or when they go 2x2 with the tight end on the left, we know on the wide receiver side, they like to run on, these 3 concepts. And you can start to cheat that way. Really, what it does is it allows the post safety to be able to just kind of play with instinct while reading the quarterback's eyes. It's absolutely huge. And it's something Savage could not do. Listen, I don't keep dogging on him, but he was a half a step late to everything, not because he didn't have the physical ability to break on the ball and to get there. It's because he wasn't sharp enough to be able to read what the offense was doing. Now, was that through preparation? I don't know. I wasn't in the meeting rooms. But is it through, reaction time? It could be a little bit of that. Just because someone says, all right, line up, and when we blow the whistle, you run from this point to this point, just because you're extremely fast doing that doesn't mean your mind can process what you're seeing, right? Mm-hmm. That's what X obviously is. When you hear him talk to, man, he just seems so intelligent. And that was the big thing Javon Bullard coming out of college was, and even Matt LaFleur and the guys were talking about, like his football IQ is excellent too. So the fact that he's studying under X and both safeties in the NFL today that's on the field, you've got to be able to play both those positions. You'll see X. Watch on Sunday. He's done it both games so far. And Evan Williams let the cat out of the bag in training camp when he said, well, basically, X has total control over what the safety does, whether he goes into the box and plays spur or whether he plays post safety. You'll see him point, and the other guy, all right, got it. So he calls the shot at the last second. Think about that. From a quarterback standpoint, you're studying tendencies, and you're thinking, all right, what do they like to do with the safeties? If the players on defense don't even know what they're doing before the snap, how the heck can you read what they're doing, right? So it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah, real quick. I mean, just to drive home the point here, you guys know at one point I was a little bit, I don't want to say hesitant, but I was like, man, do we really want to pay top money for a safety that, we got him in here and 100% he's been worth the money and then some, because he's done, obviously he shows up on the field. He's been a good locker room guy, but like you just talked about, Clay, this is the guy that's single-handedly basically mentoring a safety room full of 3 to 4 first-year guys. All of them have crazy raw talent, really good upside as far as their personalities. Having a guy like him be with them for 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be, even if it's just that, they're going to absolutely become the best NFL players, I think, at their possible capabilities, just because of the fact that they've got somebody like him that isn't going to be selfish, that wants to impart his knowledge, that has shown that he's really good at showing, this is what you do in this situation, this is what you do in there. And like you said, Bullard and Williams, we've seen those guys talk, man. They are football smart dudes. They are not just, big bodies, and on top of it, they're throwing thunder. We've seen the clips of Bullard just absolutely laying wood to people. Same thing with Evan Williams, man. So if you got that IQ with the natural ability that lets them play fast and play smart, then boom, that's crazy right there.
Definitely. And Xavier McKinney, obviously, he played for Nick Saban. Nick Saban's Red 2. They said it's like trying to learn how to speak Chinese. Like, if you can pick up Red 2, you can pick up any defense. So X was raised up in that system, and that high demand for excellence from a mental standpoint on defense. And then you go to Javon Bullard. He played under arguably the best defensive mind in the game right now, and Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart came from Nick Saban's program. So you got both of your safeties have basically were taught in college how to play the safety position from 2 of the best, if not the 2 best defensive minds in college football in the last 50 years. So that is just, it's just such an advantage, especially like when you come out of Georgia here recently. They talk about their Bloody Tuesdays, I think is what they call it, and just how hard they practice. And then you step into the NFL to where the CBA has kind of toned back how much you can practice, how much you can hit. It's like, hey, I think I can handle this. But again, Javon Bullard, not only did he play post safety, not only did he play spur and in the box, but he also played slot in 2022. So he's there's something to be said. And I think anybody who's in the workforce, no matter what your job is, it can be a minimum wage job in fast food. It can be working for a Fortune 500 company, in the office space. One thing that everybody agrees on is that many times there's people that are in management that don't know what the hell they're talking about because they've never been in the shoes of the person that they're telling what to do. In this case, when you look at a safety looking to try to set the stage or set the defense up, now Bullard doesn't have that responsibility, but he's watching X do it, right? And you've already played not only post safety, not only box safety, but you played that slot position. You understand a lot more about what goes into playing those positions and setting yourself up to succeed. Now, think back week 1 when Bullard drove on the ball past Quay Walker and made that hit, right? He just sees the field a lot quicker. I'm eager to see where Javon Bullard finishes this year because I think he's on pace to have one of the best rookie safety years in a long time. That's just me personally. So I think he is cut more from the Nick Collins cloth. Personally, I think he's kind of built like Nick Collins. I think he's extremely fast like Nick Collins. I think he's got ball skills like Nick Collins. The question is, can he raise his level of play to where Nick Collins was? So I see X more of like trying to think of the type of safeties here. I don't want to say a Cam Chancellor, maybe an Earl Thomas early in his career, that type. And then Bullard is more kind of a Nick Collins type. So, all right, let's see here. What else in the chat? Malik Whitmire, in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. He says, appreciate it, fellas. Making work on Saturday morning a little bit better. Hey, man, thank you for making us a part of your Saturday morning, Buck. We appreciate you. Fractal of God says, if Jordan plays tomorrow, I hope he tightens up his accuracy. Amen. There are some people that are convinced that Jordan is just, oh, man, he's spot on. He's good. He's got a lot to work on. Mm-hmm. I'm not a Packer fan that's saying Jordan has arrived. He's the best quarterback in the league. I think that when he's on, he is a slam dunk top 10 quarterback. I think when he's really on, he can be the best. But the accuracy obviously was the issue. You've seen it in the Philly game. And I don't know, man. Maybe we need to play in the preseason. We said we would have this debate early in the season, Jacob. If everything goes good, who needs preseason? If things go a little bit rocky, it's why aren't we playing these guys in the preseason?
Yeah, I think you could honestly make that argument league-wide because we've seen a lot of these injuries and certain, talking heads that I trust more than even myself have pretty much came out and said like, yeah, you're not getting any impact. They're not getting any sort of valuable practice time where they're actually engaging their bodies in the ways that they're going to do it in the game. And then they get surprised that they're popping up all these injuries left and right. Well, I mean, you can't practice. You can't mimic game speed. You just can't. So like you talked about, I think it is becoming more prevalent. I think that we were all on board that we wanted him to play basically like a half, a quarter, and then a series type thing. And I would have maybe liked to see that progression. And, with Jordan Love, I don't think it's ever been a lack of ability. It's always been a lack of consistency. And he'll even admit that himself. He says that in his a lot of his interviews. And, I don't blame the guy right now. It's going to be tough to try to just absolutely slide back into the starting role and just be Johnny on the spot, just hitting dimes. But if anybody can do it, like you said, it'll be him. Maybe it takes a quarter or two to maybe knock the rust off. And I guess we can talk about it, right? What are the chances that he plays? Are we going to get into that, or is that too much of a dry segue here?
There's nothing else to say other than it's a 50-50 shot. I think we would all agree with that, right? Right. Now the questionable status, that's what that means. Now, that's not to say there's not gamesmanship there. I think the reason there's nothing really else to talk about, Jacob, is because they're not going to let us know how his knee feels today. That's the big question. Because it's going to be rest from here on out. Keep in mind they got to fly, but there's no swelling in his knee with the MCL. All that's going on with the MCL right now, guys, is you're allowing scar tissue to build up around that wound, right? And that's why it's best to stay off of it. And when you play on it, it's not necessarily a risk to re-hurt it. Everybody that I've talked to, everybody that I've seen mention it that have medical degrees and know what the heck they're talking about, I've not heard one person say, well, if he plays on it, he could re-injure it. It's about pain tolerance because that scar tissue is trying to build up around the wound. And essentially that's what's going on there. So if he can tolerate the pain and the big comment, Jacob, was protect himself, right? Can he protect himself? And what that means is, can he escape the pressure if he has to? You don't want to be a sitting duck back there. That's not to say you're going to re-injure that knee. That's going to say you could end up with a concussion or broken ribs or a broken collarbone, something like that, because you weren't able to protect yourself, even with the way you fall. But based off everything we've seen, I think he's probably going to play, but I'm not going to be surprised if Malik Willis gets a nod, So Jay says, hope he's not drifting anymore when he comes back. When he has a solid base, he can't miss. Completely agree. And he got so good last year that he was throwing off base and was drifting and was still accurate. It's just the problem is you got to knock that rust off, like Brian says here in the chat. He has to get the rust knocked off. Hope he can protect himself and play well. It's so true. Like, you've got any sport, it doesn't matter what it is, man. It takes repetition, and recent repetition to get that rust knocked off and really kind of hone in on where you were at one point. So there you go. All right, let's see what else we got here real quick. We have one more. Yeah, Jarrell Lee says Eric Wilson play on 3rd and 1 was Pro Bowler play. And I'm telling you, Jarrell, to play 8 snaps and have 3 impact plays, got to get that dude on the field. He may be the piece you're looking for to play Will in this defense. Possibly Mike, who knows? But you got a lot invested in Quay. Quay's going to be on the field. I want him to be the Mike, so you can put him in a position to do what he does best, and that's cover. I'm still hearing people talk about, well, if you want him to be a cover guy, you got to put him in the wheel. I'm like, oh my God, why? Do we watch what happens on the field?
Well, and especially too, because like if Quay is in that green dot position, he can basically decide. He can set coverages. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like if we talked about if and then type situations. I mean, I'm sure there is some them reacting on how the offense is going to be making their protections and doing some motion here and there. But right. if he has the ability with that green dot to set protections and set all that kind of stuff, to me, it just seems like a stupid argument. I don't know.
I agree. And, I heard people the other day, Jacob, they were saying, put him in the wheel. That would be the best spot for him. And I'm going, if he's in the wheel and they're playing cover 3, his responsibility is going to be kind of that short hook in the flat. Now, what has Quay done bad? He's missed tackles, right? He's gotten – okay, so imagine this. You get yourself set up in a single high look and you attack the flat. Whether you do kind of a combination there with an out route and a flat underneath. Now imagine Quay Walker trying to tackle someone like Tony Pollard in the open field on a flat route. That's not his strength. His strength is his height, right? He's got a height advantage as a Mike line. He's a tall Mike, and he's got the athleticism to get vertical to protect on those vertical routes. What that allows you to do is run a little zone match combination with Tampa 2, and now you can stay in cover 2 a lot more as opposed to having to go to cover 3 to shut down that seam. So, and he's not perfect at that, but that's definitely his strength. So,
would you say that his best quality, like you said, is maybe like you said, being able to get downfield, cover that seam versus being, because to me, when I watched his low lights or whatever, it was a lot of him kind of very hesitantly reacting, and then he'd get lost in the wash, and he got lost in the wash a ton, or he'd make a bad angle or something. But when you'd watch him drop back in coverage, you're just like, okay, I guess I like that right there. I understand the shine of him. Like, that's where you see him flash. And I think, wasn't it Halfley that he said that on certain plays, he's like, wow, he flashes in certain areas and others maybe he doesn't. I think Halfley probably, if he is as good as I hope he is, and I think he is, that he will now, after a few games of live footage and having to look back on this and see, all right, it's up to me now. I know what my guys can do well and what they can't. I now need to put them in a position. I feel like that's Halfley's style of coaching. I don't think that he's going to, and I'm not going to throw Barry under the bus. I kind of just did, even by bringing him up, but you know what I mean? It felt like we didn't make adjustments last year. It felt like in the adjustments we made, we did them with the same puzzle pieces. Whereas with Halfley, I feel like he says, okay, I understand that if it's a 3rd and 14, Quay's got to be out there in a certain situation. If it's maybe a 2nd and 4, that McDuffie is probably one of our better filler type linebackers that can actually just sift through box and make a play in the backfield, or Wilson or something like that. I feel like that he's starting to understand the qualities of his players and putting forth like the best starting 11 on any given play. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And again, this was the argument I was making last year, because people were saying we got to stop at this quarters coverage, and I'm going, guys, we're not playing quarters. We're playing fifth most middle field closed of anyone in the league. Like you're just regurgitating what other people are saying when people say that. Now, to your point, Jacob, here we are on our fourth straight defensive coordinator, right? And it was fire Dom Capers, it was fire Mike Pettin, it was fire Joe Barry. What hasn't changed? And I said this when they hired Joe Barry, and I'm saying it now that they hired Jeff Edmonds. The thing that hasn't changed is how we draft on defense, right? We key in on high athletic ability, extremely high. Quay Walker, world-class athlete at the middle linebacker position.
It's basically RAS. We're just going on RAS.
Right. And again, I'm not saying that they don't take into consideration football IQ. That's silly to think that, but they definitely – I feel like – I'll put it this way. If there's a tiebreaker and, okay, he's just as athletic as he is smart, let's lean on the better athletic ability. And I think you might need to press into a little more of the FBI. Now, you look at this draft this year and how we attacked free agency. Xavier McKinney in free agency, extremely high FBI, right? Javon Bullard seems like he has extremely high FBI. Evan Williams, another one. It just seems like he can find the ball, right? It just kind of comes natural to him. So, but yeah, as far as like Joe Barry not making adjustments last year, I seen it, and I think I understand what you're saying, Jacob. I seen it schematically. He made adjustments. I mean, when we got beat by the Giants, we got beat on that final drive because we played press man in the slot with Keyshawn and got burned on a double move up the sideline. Yeah. And everybody's going, I'm so sick of Joe Barry. I'm like, I can literally search your Twitter profile and find where you scream for press man all year. We get burned in press man, and it's still the defensive coordinator's fault. Then the argument goes, well, it's his job to get them ready. I completely agree. That's why halfway through the year, it's like, okay, we got to make a move here. But if you keep losing with the same personnel, sooner or later, man, you're going to have to go, all right, maybe we need to do something a little different. Now,
that was my point, was that it was more of he didn't exchange the personnel. Like he did make adjustments on the field as far as the scheme, but he had the same guys out there running around looking like, what's.
Right, exactly. So everybody's trying to find, back to the Mike linebacker, everybody's trying to find that Fred Warner duplicate, right? The problem is there's not another Fred Warner on the planet right now, right? Roquan Smith has been excellent with the Baltimore Ravens. As soon as he got out of that crap hole in Chicago, all of a sudden things kind of came together. Funny how that works. But, yeah, as far as Quay, though, I think his ability to cover down the field and kind of keep things in front of him and use that athletic ability, I think that far outweighs any other person that could replace him at the Mike linebacker position that's on the roster right now. Edgerrin Cooper, that may change. But the reality is Edgerrin Cooper's getting limited snaps because he keeps making mental mistakes. So you definitely don't want your Mike linebacker out there wearing the green dot making mental mistakes. Other people would suggest that maybe you take the green dot off of Quay and free him up. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Why don't we let X wear the green dot and let Quay kind of play a little more free? I could see that too. So, yeah.
Just real quick, Nick McSwain says, why don't I ever get notifications for y'all going live? If you're on YouTube, you have to turn notifications on, but I have been told by others too that they, for whatever reason, don't give y'all notifications. It happens to me. I'm subscribed to the channel. I rarely now still get notifications. I don't quite know how to handle that. If check Rumble, I guess. I don't know. I
don't know how. Honestly, don't know how notifications work to a T. But when I turn notifications on, every channel I'm subscribed to, I get notifications, and it drives me crazy. So I just keep it off. But yeah, if you would have to just follow this channel, have notifications on for that not to happen to you. And obviously, nobody's going to do that. But I can't answer that question for you. I do know this. There's some funny things that go on with the algorithm. This is not just my experience, but other people talking. I've had people message me and say, hey, bro, I was subbed to your channel. Now I'm unsubbed. I have no idea what happened.
Yep.
It's funny. Right as I said this, our connection dropped. and I've got full internet connection. That's funny how that works. Anyway, but it's just I don't know how to answer it other than we'll try to let you know on the previous show when we're going to go live. Like I let everybody know yesterday, hey, we're going to be going live in the morning. Now we went a little early, so hopefully we can get the notification thing straightened out. But just make sure the bell icon's on and hold on tight if you're sub to 500 channels like me, because I got a bunch of football channels that I'm sub to for sure. So let's see here. Adam Block says Quay just needs to play smarter and faster. If he can't, then drafting his replacement or trading for his replacement in the future seems likely. That mock is so important, man. It's like I said, edge, opposite 3-tech, top priority, those two positions. Mock, post safety. You got your post safety. Go get your mock now. You're going to have a great defense. There's no two ways about it. So, and maybe Quay puts it together. That's the other thing, too. We all want to fire Joe Barry. And then when we get a new DC in, we don't want to take into consideration that, hey, these guys got to learn the scheme. These guys got to get used to the new rules they're going to be playing with. So, these are all the things we talked about. And I know you guys and gals that are watching on a daily basis know that. It's just, it gets frustrating. Too old for this. Morning, everyone. I'm limited. I'm limited this morning. Me too, brother. Me too. Greg Rice says NFL mock linebackers typically have the following physical attributes. I love this: 5'10" to 6'5", weight 215 to 255. So basically, anybody who isn't under 5'10", that fits the mold.
I can fit that. I can make that weight.
I can make that happen.
I can do that.
Exactly.
He did go on though to highlight some other Hopper, weight 6'2", 228. And I didn't realize he was that light, I guess. And then Mr. Walker, height 6'4", weight 241. So just fun
right
facts to think about. But we've covered, Clayton specifically has covered how defenses now, like Robert Salah's defense, where you have very agile, quote unquote, maybe lighter Mike linebackers than you would expect. I believe we covered it too when we were looking at like the Bobby Wagner possibilities and that sort of stuff when we started looking at size. And I really don't think, obviously size is going to have something to do with how you play football. It's football, but if you just are that good, it constantly, it goes back to, again, the safety talk and the way that we draft. Like I'll never forget Kyle Hamilton. For whatever reason, that sticks in my head of being a guy that his measurables were, as far as Green Bay is concerned, horrible. But the guy's FBI was so insane that he comes into the league as a rookie and he's the top two safeties. Like like you said, it does make me want to kind of go to the front office and be like, all right, I get it. We got to find guys that are athletic. Is there any way we can do a cross-reference with maybe a Venn diagram? Kamala loves Venn diagrams. So do I. Let's put those up. Let's see if there's any sort of cross-reference between the fact that if they have crazy RAS and they have a crazy FBI. Let's just not focus on the RAS and see if we can get somewhere in the middle there. And, that's the best endorsement I'll ever give that woman. So
CJ Mosley is the mock backer for the Jets. Height and weight is 6'2", 238. So
right.
Obviously right in the middle of that size chart or size frame there that the listener mentioned. The one I wanted to look at was Junior Colson. You guys know Junior Colson was my draft crush. He was the guy that I wanted. He's 6'2", 247. So he's thick. Got the height too at 6'2". Obviously not as tall as Quay. Now, what it comes down to there, would you rather have Junior Colson or Edgerrin Cooper? I'm going to look up Junior Colson and how he's doing this year as far as snaps. Go ahead, Jacob, if you want to hit on anything else in the chat or any comments you got real quick. It shouldn't take long.
Well, yeah, Junior Colson,
Thick.
Just saying. It is. I don't realize how much we love Tim on this show. He's so good with the drops, man. It's almost crazy how he does it because he's still talking while he does it. I know that a lot of people in the chat are seemingly wondering, let's see, average linebacker positions and heights and that kind of stuff. Again, I just don't think if you're a good linebacker, you're a good linebacker. I always think back like who was my favorite guy back in the day? Miami Dolphins, Zach Thomas.
Zach Thomas, yeah.
Bro, that guy, he was like 5'10", maybe 220, dripping wet. And he was just a beast when it came to he played the position really, really well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of just labeling people as like, oh, well, he's only this size, he's only this weight. Greg Rice is asking, do you know anybody in the chat, Ray Lewis's size? Because that guy was an absolute. Talk about the definition of a human meat missile. It was probably Ray Lewis / Ed Reed / basically anybody that was on that Ravens defense in that time.
And this is different. You're talking about different eras too. Ray Lewis, 6'1", 250. But you got to think about when he played. There was a run-heavy time. Everything shifted in the 2010s because teams started to spread everything out and the passing game took over. And that's why teams started to go for those more athletic linebackers, right? And that's, again, Fred Warner can do it all. But, yeah, Ray was real thick, 6'1", 250, no doubt about it. And I just looked up Junior Colson, not having a good start here, Jacob. Week 1, 35 snaps. Week 2, only 7 snaps.
And where's he at? Sorry.
He's with the LA Chargers.
Yeah, okay.
Now they got him in the third.
Did Harbaugh? That's who he played for, right? So
yes, correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now his PFF grade 47.8. Right. Guess what he's good and bad at though. Run defense 71.8. Right. Okay. Coverage 41.3. So he's definitely been a little bit better run defender than pass coverage. And again, he was drafted at the 69th spot there in the 3rd round. So that would be like you probably need to compare our Tyron Hopper to him, right? And obviously Hopper hasn't even hardly seen the field. The thing about Hopper too, some people are mentioning, what about Hopper at Mike? Hopper's a thumper. Everything that Quay doesn't do in the run game, Hopper would do that better. I'm convinced. Yeah. The problem is everything that Quay does good in pass coverage, Hopper's not good at least early in his career, right? Based off college and things like that. So, just something to keep an eye on there. I love the linebacker talk, man. This is fun. We had a whole show set up, but this is a great conversation here. Badger Trio says, also Williams, the rookie from Oregon, flies all over the field. I watched him a lot at the game Sunday. Yeah, and it was so cool to see him get the interception there at the end of the game. It's like, of course he would catch that interception. He just every time there's an opportunity to get an interception, limited snaps, dude makes a play. So yeah, you've seen it all through the preseason training camp. I'm excited to see him get some more snaps. And again, it's Keyshawn Nixon, I felt like had a good game week 1. Week 2 felt like he took a step back. Jeff Hafley seems to be impressed with him, right? And that's all that matters. I'm going to pull up Keyshawn Nixon's PFF.
I mean, do you think – I mean, I really do think that Jeff Hafley is the type of coach where if he was disappointed with a player, I don't think he would say it. I think that he is the type of coach that is always going to try to find a positive way to address a situation. It's just what I might read from him. And I think that's a good way of coaching, especially when he knows guys. I think he understands personalities. I think he understands that he has to be careful with Jair certain ways. He has to be careful with Keyshawn because of his ego. I know that he knows he can really count on X because of his perseverance and the way that he seems more of just like a no-nonsense, yes sir, no sir type player. I think that he knows that he's got certain guys that he has to, I don't want to say baby because that makes it sound, some type of way, but I think that in a way he understands that coaching a team is almost the same as managing a team. If you've ever been a manager of any sort of business, if been in charge of any sorts of employees and all that kind of stuff, you understand it sounds horrible, but you can talk to certain employees a certain way and you can't talk to certain employees a certain way. It's just people's personalities are different. It's just what makes them up.
Definitely. Now here's PFF and the look at our defense. Let's just kind of take a quick gander here. We'll try to not focus on the Titans at the moment. So they've got Xavier McKinney as a strong save. There's things for the amount of information that PFF gathers, they do little things really, really bad. Really bad. I don't understand it. Sometimes it just like McKinney as the strong safety, and it's like, do you even watch the damn game? Like, did you not see him intercept the ball 2 weeks in a row playing post safety? But regardless, the grades are the grades here. Okay, so we were just talking about Keyshawn Nixon. I just want to pull this up real quick and kind of look. So in 2024 so far through 2 games, 59.3 defensive grade overall. His pass rush grade's helping that a lot, guys. So
line him up at edge, baby.
Take that pass rush grade out for a second, okay? Because obviously he's firing on the nickel blitz. That's inflating this overall grade. Coverage grade 49.7, run defense grade 67.1, and Hafley did talk about that. Him kind of meeting that run fit. Problem is, we're one of the worst run defenses in the league as it sits right now. We started off strong, and then after last week with Jonathan Taylor, it's like if that's your strong point and we're still that bad, not a ringing endorsement, right? So when it comes to the grade, though, he's playing pretty much right where he did last year, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how Keyshawn is looking at the moment. If we go back to the lineup here, just to take a quick gander through.
Does that say Kenny Clark's at a 39?
Bro, it's and this is the thing, Jacob. Like, you remember the offseason, I was talking about needs, and I was like, we gotta get a true 3-tech. I think you let Kenny test free agency. And then lo and behold, they give him the contract extension. And I'm always going to react this way, guys, every time. My reaction was, Goody knows way more about football in this team than I do. If he thinks he's worth that money, then I cannot disagree that he's not worth that money. Right? That's just, and I will always do that. Players, coaches, GMs, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I understand football more than them. I'm not going to do it. But everybody talked. We go to this one gap. Watch what happens with Kenny now. Watch this. No sacks so far, right? And his grade is a 39.8. Again, that's not everything. It's PFF. It doesn't mean it's.
Jeez, look at that though. That's
so look at this through the years here, guys. Starting in 2016, 74.8, 87.3, 90.2, 79.5, 76.1, 75.4, 66.4. Last year, he jumped back up to a 70.4 and now off to a kind of a slow start. Now, historically, it does seem like, Jacob, he does start slow. So maybe we get, a little later in the season, he ramps it up. But, man, that's a lot of money for someone who's grading out as, I think, what was the number they had on him? Just
101 out of 111 or something.
102. Yeah. That's 102 out of 111.
I can't taste that chicken.
And again, it's a new system. It's going to take time, right? And everybody's kind of getting, acclimated to everything. The problem is they didn't play two gap all the time last year. And there's still people that are convinced that we played two gap 100% of the defensive snaps. Matt LaFleur confirmed we didn't play two gap last year. In his presser, he said 2 backs equals 2 gaps. 1 back equals 1 gap. Now, he didn't say that's every snap. So there were times in a 34 jam with an ace set, single back set, we were playing 2 gap. But Kenny, it's not looking good early. Hopefully he can crank it up.
Well, I mean, to be honest, we're sitting here throwing shade on Kenny, but take a wide lens there. Nobody. I mean, other than maybe McKinney and Stokes.
That's what
the only.
I mean,
it does, but it doesn't at the same time. Like, and we've seen, it's not like PFF is obtuse to grading Packers. You looked at what all of Kenny's grades have been. Yeah, I'd say great, or if not good, up until this point. So it's not like we have a bias here. It kind of worries me because you look around and there's a lot of yellow, a lot of red in this defense here. So
I understand the concern, man. I really do. But again, when you see the whole defense grading out low, to me, it's all right. You're kind of getting the base of your defense set. I think it will improve as the year goes. I mean, it can't get much worse from a grade standpoint, right? It really can't. And the thing is, too, you got to kind of take into consideration what do people do well. And also, like this last game, we only gave up 10 points this last game. That's a solid defensive performance. Now, It's amazing how people are going, but it's the Colts. They suck. And I'm going, nobody was saying that last week. All of a sudden, now they suck. So, it's early. You got to kind of let the dust settle a little bit, rather than just, every 2 seconds change your opinion. All right, we're great again. No, we suck again. And you got to talk about the situational stuff. Like, we're leading the league in takeaways. That should be top priority, right? That's second priority to points allowed, right? And points per play. So points per play, then takeaways. That's what Hafley was talking about. Also, third down defense, being real strategic with how you call the game so you can put yourself in a third down position and call the right play, getting the right look. So go ahead.
Yeah, J. Cole's just saying, PFF can get a little ridiculous with the grades, in my opinion. And I think it's fair to throw a little bit of shade here and there at PFF. I don't, love all the stuff they do. I think that we've talked about it. Like, show me a better system. Show me a better way of grading players, and then I'll completely agree with you. So, it's tough here and there. I used to listen to the Sam Monson's the PFF podcast, and I put a lot of credit to those guys, the way that they explained, the way that they started it. You'll never hear me be a fan of Chris Collinsworth, but I I respect what he did and basically the investment into this company that they did and where it came to fruition. You know, I think that it's a factor that you have to take into consideration. It's not the whole piece, but it's definitely, like we always talk about, there's a combine. Sure. There's PFF grades, there's interviews, there's physical tests, you know, there's a lot of different factors, and then they make a decision. So, you know, it is tough to look at that and see so many of the low grades that you don't like there. Also, by the way, we have to get the drop of Rob Schneider from Waterboy. Oh no, we suck again.
Right.
We need that one. That's a good one.
We do need that. You're right, man. We got to find that. I'd like to have the cut his head off, but we can't have that one. Right? Can't make that one work. That's my favorite line in that whole movie, dude. I was like, man, that got out of hand quick. We're going to continue this conversation on the other side in hour 2. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you over there for hour 2. We appreciate y'all. All right, so here's what I want to hit on. We just talked about how, okay, PFF can get ridiculous, right, and all that. So let's step away from PFF and let's jump into some SIS data. That sound good? Let's just kind of take a quick
Fred, just real quick. Fred's got a good. He's too many autumn colors, baby. We need more green grades.
Yes,
that's true.
We need spring in the air.
Yes,
exactly. So this is SIS, and I'm going to try to get it to where we can read it fairly easy here. All right. Gosh, I don't want to take us off the screen, but I may have to here just to make it a little easier on everybody. Okay. People are going to log on and go, I don't want to watch a spreadsheet. I'm going on to the next channel. But so let's talk defense here. And again, this is pass rush. Let's key in on the pass rush. We're talking Kenny Clark, right? Look at the pressure percentage over here on the right. Okay. So obviously Bullard, McDuffie, Nixon, you kind of throw those out, you know, with the bath water because those are designed pressures. To me, those are Hafley stats. That says a lot about Hafley and how he's dialing up pressure from a manufactured standpoint, right?
And just the total of pass rushes, I think, right? 1, 5, and 3. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, that right here. Yeah, So let's slide down and say, okay, of anyone who has more than 10 pass rushes, who's leading the way? Look who it is, Devontae White at 11.1%. Okay, so again, he did this last year. He's a great pass rusher. He's just not as effective against the run, right? Rashawn Gary 8.9, then Kenny Clark 8.9. Those numbers. So look at Kenny Clark's grade and go, okay, pass rush. From a pass rush standpoint, he's the third best pass rusher as far as pressure rate on the team right now. Okay. Now, if we go over to run defense real quick, and this is just the Green Bay Packers. Okay. Let's go right here. And I want to look at the average tackle depth. Okay. Let's go negative is better. Look at Devontae Wyatt, fellas. Minus 1.3. So his average, when he makes a tackle, on average, it's 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage is the way I'm understanding that. That makes sense? So Eric Wilson, look at that. Minus 0.2. Evan Williams, of course, very small sample size, I'm sure, with the rush snaps only 4. Preston Smith, one of your best run defenders, right? Carrington Valentine been fairly effective with his 38 snaps. Lucas Van Ness against the run, been solid. I've seen people calling for Lucas Van Ness's head. Like he's one of the better run stuffers so far this year. Keyshawn Nixon, of course, they're playing aggressive off the edge. That goes hand in hand with what Hafley said. TJ Slayton, 2 yards. Edgerrin Cooper, 2 yards. Kingsley Enagbare, 2 yards. Quay Walker, 2.1. Rashawn Gary, 2.3 off the edge. Where is Kenny Clark, guys? Look at this. 4.4. Again, when you go one gap predominantly and you get out of a 34 jam front and these guys are penetrating up the field, you're running right past the ball carriers in some cases. Then you got to turn around and go chase them down the field for 4 yards and make the tackle. That's not a good look there for the most expensive player. I mean, for God's sakes, Xavier McKinney almost has a better average tackle depth, and he's playing post safety, Jacob. Like Kenny is in the 1 to 3 or 1 to 3 tech. So that's a tough look, man. Let's look at broken tackle percentage. I feel like he's cleaned that up a touch, and we got to filter out a lot of stuff here. Preston Smith hasn't missed a tackle yet. That's phenomenal. Lucas Van Ness hasn't missed a tackle. TJ Slayton hasn't. Edgerrin Cooper hasn't. A lot less snaps there with Edgerrin Cooper, obviously. Kingsley Enagbare, no missed tackles. Rashawn Gary, no missed tackles. Kenny Clark, no missed tackles. So that's good because last year that was kind of high, right? So who has all the missed tackles on the team? Let's get to it. Eric Wilson, believe it or not, at 16.7. Isaiah McDuffie at 16.7. Quay Walker, 19%. You see, now you're starting to see like, okay, yeah, see your point there. That's not the good aspect of his game for sure. Devontae Wyatt, that's been the knock on him. He can get after the pass rusher, but boy, he misses a quarter of the tackles so far this year, right? So just something to kind of keep an eye on there. Now let's go to pass defense.
Real quick, can you just scroll down to the bottom there? I think you just kind of glossed over the fact Okora Boy is there, one of the highest paid cornerbacks in the league. I understand they are to be, most predominantly covering the pass and all that kind of stuff, but if you got Jair and look at the other one, Stokes, both of them missing quarter of the tackles. I mean, that's, to me, in my opinion, when I think about dominant defenses, if a rush kicks outside, you see the corners coming up and throwing wood, dude. They're not afraid to come in and make tackles. And, I just feel like that right now, Green Bay still, some of that secondary is like, if they break a one off and they're past 5 yards, it's like, hold your breath. Hope that one of the linebackers or one of the D linemen can tackle them, because it's not going to be the cornerbacks.
Right. Now, and again, I'm not going to set my expectations on a cornerback based off of run defense. However, like you said, when you're one of, if not the highest paid, that's tough. That's a liability, man. I mean, look at other corners on the team. Like what is, obviously Eric Stokes is the same missed tackle percentage. Look at Carrington Valentine. You wonder why he got snaps. Right. That dude hasn't missed a tackle yet, playing physical.
And Keyshawn, look at him too.
Yeah,
to his credit.
And that's what I was saying about Key is like he's playing better this year than he did last year, if you ignore the PFF grade. Right.
And honestly, I like Javon's number there too. As a safety, I feel like there's a little more. He's probably going to have more like open field style tackles that he's going to be. I still think that's a good number in my opinion.
It's impressive. It really is, man. There's no doubt about it. So let's go to pass defense real quick, because I want to see where Quay's at now. And we're going to key in on passer rating when targeted here on the Packers and see, all right, who's been the difference makers when it comes to pass defense. I'm going to go wider here. I apologize. All right, so passer rating when targeted. Only seven coverage snaps. Actually, let's just focus on targets. Eric Wilson, 1 target, obviously had an interception. The rating is going to be 0, right? Limited snaps. Look at Carrington Valentine. He was only targeted 1 time on 24 snaps. That says he probably had pretty damn good coverage, right? Yeah. And passer rating when targeted, 39.6. Look who is next on the list. Quay Walker, 45.1. You want to know why he's still your starting Mike? That's why, right there. And that's why I'm not one of these people that are going to say you need to bench Quay. Because who's going to fill that role? Who's going to take that over? Right. So far, he's been hands down, one of the best on the team. In that
and look at him. Other than X, he's got right in that area. He's got the most snaps, kind of by far, and only 6 targets on that. And to have 6 targets on that many snaps with the rating only being 45, like you said, that's the reason. That's the reason why Hafley said he goes, there's certain things that Quay does that the other people just can't do. Right.
And when people, just fire from the hip and say, oh, he's horrible in coverage. He said, no, he's not horrible in coverage. Stop making that stuff up and throwing up on Twitter because you're an emotional fan. Like, chill out. You gotta focus on the pros and cons and say, okay, is there a better option out there right now? Me personally, I don't think there's a better option than Quay on the market. I don't. And there damn sure ain't one on the roster that's going to play the pass better at the moment. So now you got to decide, would you rather have someone who is less effective against the run but more effective against the pass? It's a passing league. It's still a passing league.
Where is the line, or how does a guy like Jeff Hafley kind of dance around maybe understanding that, hey, if it's a third, like you just said, if it's a third down situation, a passing situation, I need Quay out there. Is there any way that he can dance between playing kind of both sides of having Quay not taking limited snaps, but maybe readjusting what his role is on certain downs and distances? Does that make sense? Trying to use him as a puzzle piece, a chess piece. If it's a first down, where would I rather have Quay? Versus if it's a 3rd and 14, where would I have Quay? What's the most optimal position to put him in? Is there a way that he can actually,
it's hands down, Mike, in my opinion, Jacob. And the reason being because like on first downs, it's about personnel, matching personnel as opposed to, all right, first down, we're going to play 4-3. You're matching 11, nickel to 11, you're matching base to 12 and 21, that type of thing. But yeah, when you look at it, and I thought about this, it's a great question because I was like thinking about the other day, I was on the mower. I'm like, how can you put him in a better position and make it more comfortable for him in what he does bad? There's no real answer there other than run blitz, right? And that is Quay. I feel like Quay, one of his top strength is coverage, vertical coverage more specifically. And his secondary strength, in my opinion, is blitzing, is rushing the quarterback. So it needs to be, hey, you're covering the seam or a hook zone, right? Or man coverage. He's really good at man coverage. I'm still a firm believer that if Quay had been matched up on Saquon Barkley on that wheel route, Quay would have made that play over McDuffie, right? Mm-hmm. The problem is you need Quay playing mock and not will. So in that specific situation, you don't move a guy out of position because of one route on the route tree, right? That's your return on that investment is going to be far too low, in my opinion, if that makes sense. So, but yeah, so Keyshawn Nixon leading Carrington Valentine leading the corners at 39.6. Quay Walker leading the linebackers at 45.1. This is, again, passer rating against or passer rating when targeted. Keyshawn Nixon, 56.3. Evan Williams, 56.3, albeit just 2 targets. So you got to take that into consideration. Look at Xavier McKinney, man. He's only been targeted twice. He's got 76 snaps. Passer rating when targeted is 60.4. Phenomenal. Eric Stokes, 66.7. Isaiah McDuffie, 81.7. So you're seeing right there, like, okay, McDuffie maybe a little bit better attacking the flats. Like there was a third down that happened there against the Colts. McDuffie made a play on the flat, short pass, made a tackle. I think it was on a third down, forced the fourth down, and ended up going on to either a turnover on downs or they end up having a punt. That was a huge play. That's what he does well. Kind of playing the run. He's not great at anything, but his strength, in my opinion, is playing underneath in the flat zones and playing the run. His strength is not getting vertical, right? and it darn sure ain't shedding blocks. He's not very good at shedding blocks. Eric Wilson, I feel like, is probably the better defender shed blocks. But the problem here, Jair Alexander, passer rating when targeted. I know people get upset when we don't just absolutely bow down to the feet of Jair Alexander. I don't understand the fans that get upset when people just talk about here's what's actually happening on the field. But Jair Alexander, man, 97.9 passer rating against. That's a tough look, man, when you're paying him all that money. And again, things got better last week. So hopefully that number continues to come down because A.J. Brown just absolutely cooked in week 1. Javon Bullard, this one was surprising to me, 110.4. But I think in week 1, he had a bit of a bad game as well. So we'll see if that number continues to get better.
When you compare again, though, that like I looked at Javon Bullard and that made my eyes kind of pop out a little bit. Obviously, you guys know I'm a big fan of his, but it was 4 targets on 68 snaps. So they got lucky 4 times out of almost 70 times. Okay, I understand that. Jair, though, 76 snaps, I understand, but they're targeting 10 times, and you get that sort of rating where it's like, we can't have our number one cornerback, who is one of the highest paid, be the guys that they target. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just doesn't that math don't work out for me, bro. And you look up here and guys that are getting criticized, Keyshawn Nixon, he's got 65 snaps, he's got 10 targets, but the passer rating against him is 56.3. I mean, he's literally cutting it in half. You guys like X and Evan, even smaller amount of snap counts and that kind of stuff, but way better results. I mean, it just it's like that scene in Waterboy where the kicker's looking, who's my, and he's looking at who's sweating. He looks at right now and it looks like Jair's the one that's sweating from every ear to ear. And he's going to be like, oh, there's my guy.
And for the people that keep getting upset that we're talking about Jair, ask yourself this. If he was such a shutdown corner, right, then why in the world are quarterbacks throwing at him? You know what I'm saying? Like those true shutdown corners, people, they try to steer clear. Okay, 23's over there. Let's work the left side here. That's the way they operate. Nobody sees, outside of the Packers fan base, nobody really sees Jair that way across the league. I hope it continues to get better, man. He's a freaking ball of energy. And when he's positive, that's infectious, right? Like that's that's a good thing for the team when he's positive. And I feel like this year he really has kind of shifted his focus. It's pretty much common knowledge now that Ja absolutely hated Joe Barry, right? So he's got to make this work. And another thing, too, Jair's guaranteed money, and I'm not suggesting they're going to get rid of him. Listen, I was thinking we should let Kenny test the market next year and see if we can find a better interior defensive lineman. Obviously, I was dead wrong on that. Same thing will probably happen with Jair. They'll probably keep him on the roster. But you are approaching this year and next year where you can kind of get out of that contract, save some money. It's just something to keep our eye on, man. Hopefully he turns it around, but it's just not a good start. And listen, a healthy A.J. Brown in week 1, that's a tough start. Now you do have the Minnesota Vikings coming up if their receivers stay healthy with Justin Jefferson and the other young guy. Gosh, what's his name? That's been in trouble a couple times behind the
Jordan
wheel.
Addison.
Jordan Addison, yeah. So that's not going to be an easy task. Sam Darnold's playing pretty good ball. He is. Yeah. So, and again, I think Kevin O'Connell's a great football coach. That's just me. I think he coaches up quarterbacks to play within the scheme and take what the defense gives them and understand protections and all that. I think KOC is a good coach. I do. The thing I'm hoping for with Vikings is they typically start strong and finish weak. I hope that happens,
Right. And I think, a lot of times we just get so enamored with maybe PFF ratings and stats, and we think, oh, this guy's not a good football player. Everybody that got drafted in the NFL is a good football player. Like you look at, like you just talked about, Sam Darnold. I tried to warn people. I was like, he's never been in a good position. All of a sudden, now he kind of is. You look at guys like Alan Lazard and Tyler Conklin, who just got basically catapulted as to looking like some of the best receivers in the league because Rodgers decided to throw with them and has confidence in them. And you never know who's going to shine on any given week because of the fact maybe that certain talents of those players are highlighted and used in the right way. I think like we forget is that certain players and coaches maybe just aren't on the same page and they don't know, or they maybe have an ego to both of them. There's coach ego too. We talk about player ego. I know for sure there's coaches. I had some that were like, we're not playing you, and that's just because I don't like you. You know what I mean? And
I don't like your parents.
Exactly.
I've heard of those.
Yeah.
Crazy. So Javon Bullard, we just talked about the passer rating and targeting. For the people that like the dog on PFF, this PFF data lines up absolutely perfect with the SIS data. Think about it. His coverage grade, 52.9. That's what you see in the passer rating when targeted, right? But look at that run defense grade, 78.2.
So that makes sense too. Yeah.
How do you put him in a position to be better, right? And you want to be able to disguise, but it kind of feels like Xavier McKinney, both his interceptions, playing post safety. Javon Bullard's strength, run defense. Kind of feels like you need to play him more at the spur and lean into that. That will make you more vulnerable from a sense of teams will be able to pick up on your, what am I trying to say here, your tendencies. That's huge. But put guys in a position to be good, right? That should be all right.
You know what's cool though about him? Check out his by position snaps and how versatile he is. That was the one thing that we talked about when we were drafting this guy, is that you don't know where he's going to line up. He can be all over the place, kick coverage, free safety, wide cornerback, slot cornerback, box, and he's been on the D-line, guys, 7 times, which is more than he's doing wide cornerback. That's pretty cool.
They said he added powder to the Gatorade cooler too. The dude does it all, right? And that versatility is huge, especially as you get later in the season and people start to get banged up. It can be a big factor. Let's see if we can kind of dive into another. Let's talk about where these players overall rank. Okay, Xavier McKinney, the 16th highest graded safety in the league right now. Okay, Javon Bullard, as bad as that 59.7 looks, he's the 50th best safety in the league. Keep in mind, as long as you're within the top, 64, you're kind of considered okay. That's starter grade. That's, to me, what that says, Jacob, is that's middle of the pack, number 2 safety. That's not bad for a rookie.
Yeah.
If you get that PFF grade up into the 60s, that's a good, solid rookie year. It really is.
Do you think it's fair to what is your most disappointing grade? I mean, we already covered Kenny Clark, so I think we have to wipe that away.
Hands down, it would be Kenny. If you say, all right, you got to pick a second one here on defense, Jacob.
I think it'd be Gary, wouldn't it? For all the hype about Gary coming out, and he's not even in a top. He looks like a 3rd string right now as far as.
Here's the thing that cracks me up about Gary, and this isn't a shot at you.
No,
First of all, look at the quarterbacks we face. Once again,
that's true.
everybody wants that grade to be high and him be overly aggressive until you got Tommy DeVito running for $120 on you. You know what I mean? Now all of a sudden it's what are we doing? So I think that's what's going on, and it's going to happen again. Maybe not with Gary this week. I'm kind of expecting Gary to potentially have a good week, and the reason being is I see them trying to. Will Levis likes to run left. Okay, let's hit on this real quick since we're at it. Remind me we were talking about Gary. Okay. But let's go to a little bit of the tape here. I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about with Will Levis. I sent a tweet out right before we went live, and this is what the tweet said here. Let me get a little closer. I can zoom in a little bit. All right, yeah. So I put Packer fans may have to wait one more week on traditional pass rush. Will Levis likes to bail early and is most comfortable throwing right. Probably going to see more stunt spying on his left and let Gary hunt off right tackle. So this may be the week that Gary goes hunting. Watching this left box right here. Watch what Will Levis likes to do. And notice the front. The front's shaded to the right here, okay? So keep that in mind. We'll play action. Look where he bails to. Right? The dude can run. He can run. He can hurt you with his legs, okay? Now let's watch it again. Key in this time on this wide 9 out here, Jacob. Think about the Giants game last year. How did this play? What went wrong on this play right here? Okay.
Watch over pursuit.
Yeah. Look at the wide 9. Watch what he does. Look at him take himself out of the play.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? And the other thing is this defender here, there should be no getting upfield. You should be strafing. You should be aiming for his outside shoulder because you've got help over here. You know,
right.
you know what the scheme was. You were loaded to the right anyway. So there's mistakes made by the defense here that allowed this play. But I'm just simply pointing out, this is why you can't just pin your ears back and do that, what everybody's wanting to do. Now, notice if you do it on the right side here, he likes to scramble left. And, oh, by the way, scrambling left, that's where he's thrown 2 of his interceptions. So you want to get aggressive off the right side and have those D-tackle spies. And that may play a big role into why Kenny's number is so low right now, is because they've been doing these stunt spies where one guy will engage with 2 linemen, the other loops around. He's a true pass rusher in that sense. Most cases it was Devontae Wyatt, although Devontae Wyatt was the lead T in the TT stunt last week, and he actually ended up getting a sack, so that doesn't bode well for Kenny in that argument. But you engage with those 2, allow the other guy to loop, and then you kind of drift back, and you're looking to play that quarterback scramble, right? They just did a piss poor job right here. They tried to do a little stunt and again, just took a horrible angle. Now let's go to another play right here. Here's another scrambling play.
Real quick, is it important then more for Preston Smith if he likes to roll left that way and try to break contain? Is it more important that maybe Preston Smith has more of a, I don't want to say like a standout game, but maybe plays more sound and not over pursuing? Because we know that he's really good at setting an edge. He's very good at playing run defense in the same way as can he act as if like a semi quarterback shadow?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I'm saying is like with this tweet, the whole purpose was you're hitting the nail on the head, Jacob. Get aggressive with Gary on that bad right tackle who allowed, 39% of his snaps were pressures, right?
Yeah.
So let Gary hunt off the edge and play a little D-tackle stunt spy and tell Preston, like, hey, make sure they're watching this. Jeff Hafley has got these boys watching this in the film room. I guarantee you they're going, yep, this dude likes to scramble left. So if you got Gary screaming off the right side, right, and you do have, let's say you got the spur on that side too because he likes to throw right, you got to kind of Mabel the right side is the way I'm seeing this game plan. And what I mean by Mabel is flooding the zone at 3 levels on the right side. Okay, so think deep safety, mid or deep zone, mid zone, flat to hook zone or flat to curl zone on the outside to the right, and force him to work himself to the left. That should be the goal. And if you do go, that's called Mabel, by the way. That coverage concept is called Mabel, Mable. All right. So if you go Mabel right, then maybe you want to put your best corner on the left side because you're going to see more isolation plays. That should be Jair. The problem is I don't feel good about that right now. So, again, but to answer to comment on what you said, Jacob, yes, Preston Smith with the wingspan, the way he sets the edge, he's a very sound defensive player at the end position. that I like our chances here. The problem is you cannot let this happen right here. Imagine this same play set, right? Okay, that we're showing. And imagine Preston doesn't rush up the field. Maybe he's more of a 7-tech and he's just driving and he really tries to cheat inside and pinch that down.
Yeah.
Now, imagine that the D tackle who gets, or the linebacker, whoever, no, it was a defensive lineman. So they ran a stunt right there. This is what we're talking about. So the only difference is with our stunt spies that we've been running, this defender will go ahead and drift back. So when Will Levis goes to evade that looper, that D tackle's right here, squared up, ready to make a play. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's what we mean by that. This next play, though, right here, same thing, overload right. You see Will, where's he going? Going left. He keeps evading to the left. That's why I think, and it's not like he's running wide left either, right, Jacob? Like it's always in the middle. That's why we need to run those stunt spies. Imagine if you had a stunt spy where a defensive lineman isn't as aggressive, and let's say like this guy, rather than working to the left, let's say he fades out and covers this gap right here. That's where you needed that stunt spy.
Is there a certain D lineman that you think is best suited for that? Because in my head right away, I'm thinking of like a Carl Brooks type, or maybe, Devontae, to be honest. Or do you trust Kenny with that? Is that something you put LVN?
It's very interchangeable. Now think about what we just covered though with missed tackle percentage, right? Devontae White, not a good tackler. That's why I think you let Devontae White get after the quarterback and you let Kenny. Kenny's not great at tackling either. Let's be realistic here, at least the last couple of years. But if I had to choose, if you had to say, hey, all right, you've got to choose one to get after the quarterback and the other to occupy a double team, get off that block and spy, it's Kenny. Now, remember the average yards of depth of tackle, Jacob, that we covered?
Yeah.
Kenny's was 4.4. You know why? Because he's doing a lot of that spy and running the quarterback down from behind upfield. Or not necessarily the quarterback. It could be the running back too, but that's kind of their approach right now. So when Jeff Hafley said, I don't care about yards, I don't care about stats, all I care about is the score and winning the ball game, getting off the field on third down, all that stuff that he's talking about, that's what he's talking about. We're going to give you those chunk plays, right? Or not chunk plays. We're going to give you those yards, but we're in specific situations, we're not going to let you get in the end zone. That should be the overall goal. He had a pretty damn good game plan in Philly. The problem was Jair Alexander happened, right?
Yeah.
He gave up the 67-yard touchdown pass in cover one man, fairly aggressive man, I should add. He gets cooked for a 67-yard touchdown, and then you had a crucial 3rd and 7 play where A.J. Brown just makes Jair miss the tackle, like jukes him out of his shoes and gets 20 on that. That led to a score too. Those are the plays that truly matter, right? Always sees the highlights, but you really got to key on some of those plays that matter. Let's go to this lower right box real quick. Let's see what happens here. Again, look at the rush off the right side, getting in his face. Where's he going, Jacob? Right up the middle. And see, that should have been a sack, bro. That's horrible.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's got capability, man. He can run.
That's what Will Levis does well, man. And again, this is a spin move, making a guy miss a tackle. Look, whoop.
Jeez.
Yeah, I love the people that, he's horrible. He's horrible. He's made stupid decisions. There's no two ways about it. But to pretend like he doesn't have athletic ability, you're kidding yourself. And people are pissed off that he likes mayonnaise. I will never understand that. I don't. I've heard some takes on that where I'm like, boy, you are really emotionally charged about this mayonnaise bit here. I don't get that, but it is what it is. So,
Coach is coming in.
That's all right. Hit him with it.
You guys are going to come to my press conference late.
I love it. You're good, Coach. We started a little early, and I'll tell you, I was late getting out of bed this morning too. I struggled. I rolled over a couple of times. But
do you mind if I hit a couple chats quick?
Let's do it.
So we can get him out of the way here. Mr. Jarrell Lee, appreciate you. He says Keyshawn Nixon is the only person I'm worried about on our defense. Quoted by the great Andy Herman.
Did he specify what it was?
I don't know.
Yeah, and so I like Jarrell. I'd like to know because I trust Andy. I think Andy knows what the hell he's talking about. I really do.
I can't see him on Twitter.
When I look at the stats, the analytics, watch the tape, hear Jeff Hafley talk, it's just like everything I'm seeing lines up with what Haf said. All the data is lining up with what I'm seeing on tape. I feel like he's been one of the brighter points of our defense, me personally. But I'm sure Andy's got a reason to believe that, though.
Yeah. Nick McSwain, Hafley's response about Quay was pretty telling. Pretty good.
I kind of remember what he said.
basically that's where he was highlighting that he thinks Quay is the guy, and that he's got certain attributes that he trusts him. That's the long and short of it.
Dude, mocks that are 6'4" and can run like Quay, they're not just growing on trees. Like they're not, Yeah. So that is, again, I'm not happy with the run defense either, guys. Trust me, I about broke a screen the other day throwing an ink pen at it, charting the game. I was madder than hell watching him miss. It was the Philly game. I'm like, wait, for God's sakes, can we just tackle the ball carrier? But yeah, every player's got strengths and weaknesses. Every player that's not named Fred Warner. So
yeah. Fractal of God says, cut out the penalties and sort out the red zone, and we'll be unstoppable. I mean, the penalties is one thing where we haven't really addressed that, I don't think, a lot on this podcast, and it's been kind of shameful, man. We are almost, I believe, I think we're in the top of the league, if not the top, with penalties right now. That's got to make Matt LaFleur a little bit. It's got to make his piss hot, to be honest. I'm sure.
Let me look, because I know when it came to penalties on the offensive line, we were 10th best in the league. Let me double check here real quick. Penalties per game.
So I know for a while there. Watching the second game, it was something like we had 5 penalties within the first quarter or something. And I remember just thinking, man, that's just not the type of game that we can be running, because honestly, like he said, if we shore up those things, I mean, that is, I mean, in the red zone again. Yeah, that's a really good point, Fractal, because
ask and you shall receive. All right,
usually something we're pretty good at, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. This is NFL team penalties per game. So this is offense and defense. This is the team as a whole. Okay. Let's see. The Packers are tied for 23rd. So they're averaging 8 penalties per game. All right. Mm-hmm. And Baltimore, you want to know why they're off to an 0-2 start, which is so uncharacteristic? 9 penalties per game. Cleveland, God love them. Bunch of convicts out there. 12 penalties. And look at some of these teams that are up towards the top here. You got Vegas, who's been kind of a surprise here. Didn't they beat? Was it Dallas they beat? No, it was the Saints. Saints.
Yes. Yeah.
So Vegas only 2.5 a game. LA Rams playing some pretty sound ball. Indianapolis, believe it or not. Atlanta Falcons, San Francisco 49ers.
Is there a stat that shows yardage? Tennessee's 16th there. Is there a stat that shows penalty yardage by chance?
Let's see, man. See if we can comb through here and find it. Penalties. Penalty yards. What do you want? Yards per game? That good?
That sounds all right.
All right. Penalty yards per game. So
Vegas.
So far, Vegas, only 15 penalty yards per game. That's pretty impressive. So Green Bay in penalty yards per game is 21st at 60.5. Okay. So imagine if you had 50 extra yards of invisible yardage on your side. That's at least 3 points, right? So at least. Yeah. Let's see where Tennessee is. They are 13th at 47.5. So they're a little bit better than Green Bay in that regard, but it's not a huge difference, just 13-yard difference, per game basis there. But that's cool, man. That's cool. I'm glad he asked that question, just to kind of get a little bit better grab of that.
And then Prince comes in asking, PFF grades don't take in consideration the quality of the player that you were up against. Jair going versus the number 1 wide receivers each week has an effect on the grade. I don't know if that's true or not, because I've never asked any PFF, contributor if they do take that into consideration. So if they don't, I think that's a fair point. But PFF is so meticulous that I feel like they may actually have some sort of metric there. I don't know. I could be wrong.
There's a lot of things that have changed with PFF since they went to the Madden rating system. There's a lot of people pissed off at PFF. Ryan did a great podcast the other day. He kind of tied some loose ends together for me because I had been following it a little bit, and they're kind of going a little more mainstream. And people typically get mad at the social media aspect. Like they'll put a tweet out, and you'll see it'll say so and so's opinion. Essentially, is what it is. It's like I don't care about that stuff. I'm looking at the data, right? But the grades are the main thing I'm focused on. And again, I don't depend on PFF for everything. I cross-check it with SIS data. I cross-check it with next-gen stats. I do a lot of that stuff, and I cross-check it with me actually watching the tape. I know a lot of people say they watch the tape, and they don't. My goal is every snap of Packers football at least 3 times. That's my goal, and I hit that goal this week. Last year I was doing it 5 times. I got out of control last year. It about cost me marriage. But but yeah, as far as that going up against the number 1 receiver, Prince, I love you, bub. Respect your opinion. I got to disagree. Just feels like a damn excuse. The guy's supposed to be a number 1 corner. Darrell Revis, and again, Jai isn't complaining, but nobody looked at Darrell Revis and said, yeah, man, but he's going up against the number 1, Yeah. They didn't look at Richard Sherman. Now, Richard Sherman didn't travel. And by the way, Ja doesn't travel all the time either. He's traveling more this year, which is what the fans wanted.
Right.
Why don't we have Ja following the number 1? For the most part, he did that against A.J. Brown. How'd that work out for us?
Yep.
Again, it's just I don't understand that mindset. I don't understand. That's not Prince saying that. What Prince is saying here makes a lot of sense. I just from a business owner standpoint, from that perspective, no excuses. We threw you the book. You've got top class facilities, world class facilities. You've got great coaches. Go make it happen. If you can't, you get somebody else in here that can. And if you can't, guess what you can do? You can spend money in other spots, right? So that's the problem I have. Notice when I talk about my positions of tier 2 importance, cornerback isn't one. It's not. That's one of the reasons why. Tennessee's 0-2. They made a huge trade and spent a bunch of money on L'Jarius Sneed. They're 0-2. Just saying. So.
Finally finishing up the comments right now that we got highlighted. Fred McFarty coming in hot saying we should only expect good pass rush against statue quarterbacks, ? This isn't 1985. Many quarterbacks today can run. I understand what you're saying there.
Nobody's saying you should only expect good pass rush against statue quarterbacks. Nobody's saying that.
I think it's fair to say that you can expect a better pass rush for their capabilities.
What we're saying is you can't. Let me again read that comment and go back and watch Tommy DeVito last year. That's all you get. That's what happens when we're not talking about don't try to get to the quarterback, guys. That's not what we're saying. Devontae Wyatt sacked Anthony Richardson last week on a TT stunt. That was one of those spy stunts. He beats the double team, comes around. The other defensive tackle was kind of, all right, let me lay back, make sure. It was actually LVN. You'll see LVN come back in off his outside shoulder, and then he kind of fades back to the inside. You could tell they're going, all right, look, let's don't get too aggressive here because Anthony Richardson will take it right up the gut. Nobody's saying that you can't rush against any quarterbacks other than statue quarterbacks. But what you're refusing to acknowledge is the game plan is you can't just pin your ears back and go. When you do that, I'll tell you another game that they did that to. We'll go way back in the ball. Since you mentioned 1985, go watch the playoff game at Lambeau against Mike Vick. Watch how they rushed that cat. We're talking early 2000s, right? It's a tale as old as time. When you just pin your ears back and I'm just going to go beat this guy in front of me and then I'll find the quarterback, that's how you end up getting gashed.
Remember when we played against Colin Kaepernick? Did the same thing to us.
Another great example.
Same thing.
And there's a time and place to go, all right, guys, let's go get him, right? Especially in like those really 3rd and longs. But when you're playing on schedule or semi on schedule at a 2nd and 7 look, and you just pin your ears back and everybody goes one gap and you just attack, and everybody wants that until they gash you for 20 yards. That's all.
As my old roommate from Philly used to always remind me, 4th and 26. I'm pretty sure that was against Donovan McNabb where we did the same type of stupid crap where we just rushed past him, was able to step up in the pocket. I don't remember if that was him for sure, but I swear I remember that happening where he was able to just elude because we overrushed and then throws a bomb down the sideline. And it's just, it's that's like you talked about, man, just too over aggressive and not using more of a slow mentality to the game, especially when you're rushing. Like you got to have smart rushers on that edge.
Yeah, Jason Yu says thinking of those games hurts the soul. That might be bad, man.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Fred McFarley says, I wish all 22 was the default live view. I've on games on TV. Fred, I've been saying that for years too, man. It's like, why not have that as an option? Like, that's what I would watch.
I swear that was a thing that they were talking about back in the day. I know for sure they had it for a while with NBA where you could switch from the court view to the hoop view, like which was really cool. Like, why is that? If you're going to pay, again, we can have the conversation about what it's worth and all that stuff. You can't tell me that you can't throw in a few different camera angles if I'm paying $600-700 or whatever the case is that you're paying. That to me seems pretty simple. I don't get how we haven't done that yet. Greg Rice comes in and says the same thing. Because Fred, I wish the viewer could choose the shot they want. Again, I swear that used to be a advertisement that they had. I swear they had that.
We lost that technology.
We've lost it. We can't go to the moon and we can't switch camera angles no more. Jason Hughes says I'd pay for it all 22 view during live games. I would too. Bro.
Yeah, I would too, man. Yeah, and that's why when I go to games, like I would rather watch the game on TV than go in person. And people are like, oh, I love the environment, the atmosphere. I love that leading up to the game. But Jacob, you watch the game with me. Like,
yes.
Me, everybody else, hey, let's get a beer. Let's do it. Nope. I've got to be able to see the whole field.
Clayton was dialed in. I'm grabbing beers left and right. I'm grabbing Mandy cheese curds. We get the guy behind us. Remember, he said, "You can't get no more beer. They cut you off." I went back and grabbed 2 more, and he goes, "What the hell?"
He was so mad. Oh, that was great. But yeah, that's why I like to sit in the box at Lambeau so I can see everything. Right? I've been some of the best seats I had was next to the players' tunnel, and I was 10 rows from the field. And it was awesome. That was actually Aaron Rodgers' very first start as a Packer, Monday Night Football against the Vikings. And it's great, man. You're down there with everybody. Everybody's, hugged up, laughing, cutting up, everybody drinking, having a good time. But every play, you're going, what happened? What's the big screen? That's just not how I watch football. So there you go. Prince says we can't go to the moon because of the aliens.
Obviously, it's just science.
Wish we had our conspiracy music. I apologize. They ruin everything.
That's what they took from us. All
right, Jacob, you got anything else you want to hit on here, man? We covered everything pretty well. I was going to see if we could. I'll try to do an afternoon show. I'm not going to set a specific time, gang. So just be ready. Be looking for it. As soon as I do, I will let everybody know. Like I'll post the link. But
yeah,
if I had to guess, I would say 3 p.m. Eastern, so it'd be 2 p.m. Central, something like that, Jake. So.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to make it work. Yeah, I'm quite sleepy. I'm gonna take me a little bit of nap right now, but
nappy nap.
Well, napskis. I'm too old to stay up as late as I did, man. But hey, there's some good college football on today, guys. So make sure you tune into that, and just keep a watch out for YouTube because, like we talked about earlier, they maybe aren't giving a notification. So just stay dialed in. Check our Twitter. And we'll be hopefully giving you guys some more content. So.
And if we do go live, like I said, I'm going to shoot for 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. And the reason we're going so early is I've got most of the studio packed up. And as soon as we finish that stream, I got to load up all the equipment. That way we can do a live post-game show tomorrow from the hotel. It might be like an hour after the game, but we're going to try to scramble over and do that. So.
Getting some words of encouragement by Mr. Larry Kino, always awesome fan of the show. He says, this morning's show does not suck. Love the stats and makes me rethink many of the things, but still early to make firm judgments. Usually this show does suck by now, though. That's true.
Yeah, it does. It does. And usually when you start talking about the show not sucking, that's about the time that it starts sucking, I bet.
It does start sucking.
Thank you, Larry. We appreciate you, buddy. I like the Saturday shows too, man. And my work winds down in November. So once we get to November, you're going to get a morning show every day. You'll get a morning and an evening show. So we'll continue that. We still go to Lambeau, but we got to be careful. Go ahead.
Coach Lynn likes your pumpkin, so she likes Mandy's pumpkin, and it's not Clay's.
That's Mandy there, man. She keeps everything. Look, I went on a podcast the other day or a show around the NFC North. They're like, man, we love your setup, the plays, and like everything else in my life that anyone compliments, Mandy was behind it. I promise you. Anything that they don't compliment, that was probably my idea. So, but yeah, we get pretty festive around here in the fall, man. I love the fall. I love it. So, all right, that's it, guys. We're out of here. The show sucks now. Thanks, Larry. We appreciate the encouraging words. But we will see you guys and gals later on this afternoon. Let's just plan on it. 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so set your clocks. Jacob, set your alarm so you don't sleep through it. All right, sir. I know you're going to go take a nap. What do you think? Appreciate your time, though, buddy. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world. Go Packers.